me, bird. I was trying to talk. Hey everyone, my name is Monica and welcome to my channel. So recently I started a new little mini-series here on the channel where each episode is featuring a basic wardrobe essential sewing tutorial. So these are going to be the pieces that I personally think that every girl could use in her wardrobe. Last episode was the DIY t-shirt, and in this episode I'm teaching you how to make the basic skater skirt. This is going to be a really easy tutorial, and skater skirts are so popular, but they're so easy to make that I think you should make one instead of buying one. You don't even need any elastic or zippers for this tutorial. You're just going to need your stretch fabric, and that's about it. So I really hope y'all enjoy this tutorial, and if you do, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more, and let's go ahead and get sewing. For this skirt, you'll want about 1 1/4 yards of a stretchy knit fabric. I used this slightly thicker textured fabric, although any stretch fabric should be fine. Begin by folding your fabric in half and smoothing it out, and make sure that this top corner where the fold and raw edges meet is a nice square right angle. This skirt is a half circle skirt, so to make it you'll need to take your waist measurement where you want the skirt to sit, and mine was 34 inches. Divide that number by 3.14 and I got 10.8. Then you'll want to subtract a ½ inch from that number to allow for seam allowance, so my 10.8 minus 0.5 inches is 10.3, and you'll use your number in just a moment. Find the number you calculated in inches on your tape measure, so since my number was 10.3, I'll be using just over 10 1/4 inches. Lay the tape measure onto the corner of your fabric where the raw edge meets the folded edge, and I'm so sorry it takes a few seconds to focus here. Measure and make a mark with chalk at your number, and then still holding the tape measure at the corner, swivel it slightly and make another mark at your number, so I'm making my marks at just over 10 1/4 inches. Continue swiveling and making marks at your number until you've created a quarter circle shape. Connect the marks with a curved line and cut along this curve to create the waist of your skirt. Now decide how long you want your skirt to be and add an inch to that number for seam allowance. I wanted my skirt to be 19 inches long, so I added an inch to get 20 inches, and this was actually the maximum length I could make my skirt with the amount of fabric I had, but that was perfect because that's the length I wanted anyway. Place your tape measure starting at the curved waist and measure out and make a mark at your new number for the length. Then move the tape measure along the curve of the waist and continue making more marks every so often, so I'm making all my marks at 20 inches. Continue until you've created another large curve that represents the bottom edge of your skirt. Connect the lines and cut along this curve, and I'm sorry my camera got out of focus here again. I don't know what its problem was that day, but once you cut it out and unfold your fabric, you should have a large half circle shape like this for your skater skirt. For the waistband, cut out a rectangular piece of your fabric that's about 4½ inches wide, and the length is your waist measurement plus 1 inch. Since my waist measured 34 inches, my rectangle is 35 inches long, and you'll also want to make sure that your fabric will stretch in the direction I have the arrows going so that the waistband will stretch around your waist. Fold your waistband in half so that the correct side of the fabric is facing outward, and line up those long raw edges so they're nice and neat. Find the center of your waistband and make a mark with chalk on the raw edge. You'll also want to make a mark at the center of the curved waist of your skirt. To attach the pieces, pick up your waistband and lay it on top of your skirt with the correct sides of the fabric of the waistband and skirt facing together, and you should be lining up the raw edges. Match up those center markings and place a pin, and then you'll work your way outward from there. I started on one side by lining up the raw edges of the waistband along the curve of the skirt and placing a pin, and I worked my way up by shifting the waistband slightly to continue lining up the raw edges and pinning frequently so everything stays in place. And don't worry if you have a little bit of extra waistband because that's not a problem. Then you'll pin the other side of the waistband to the skirt's waist until the entire thing has been pinned down. Sew along the curve with a ½ inch seam allowance, and always backstitch at the beginning and end of all your seams. Since we're using a stretch fabric, you'll want to use a ballpoint needle and sew with either a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch so that your seams will stretch when you stretch the fabric, because a regular straight stitch would break when stretched. Take your time as you sew around the curved waist so that you can keep the fabric's raw edges lined up and prevent any bunching. And once your waistband is attached, flip the band up. If you have any excess waistband that sticks up past the skirt's edges, you can trim it off so that now your waistband and skirt are the same size. Lay your skirt with the correct side facing up and fold it in half so that now the correct sides are facing together. Line up and pin together the waistband's edge and the waistband seam, flattening out the seam allowances before pinning, and then pin along the rest of the straight edge of your skirt and sew to attach the edges together using the same stretch or zigzag stitch as before. Now, because I used a slightly thicker fabric, I found the seam allowance to be a bit bulky along the waistband, so I trimmed it down to be about 1/4 of an inch, which is optional, but if you do that, I suggest cutting before you sew the straight seam of your skirt together, because it'll be easier to cut that way and you'll have less risk of cutting into your skirt, which I had to be really careful not to do. To hem the bottom edge of the skirt, turn your skirt inside out and fold the raw bottom edge over about 1/4 of an inch once. Then fold it again another 1/4 inch so that the raw edge is hidden and pin this down. Continue double folding along the entire bottom edge of your skirt and make sure to pin frequently, and once it's all been pinned down, you'll sew the hem into place. Since the bottom edge of the skirt doesn't need to be stretched, you can use any stitch for this. A regular straight stitch will work fine, and that's what I used, or you could use a decorative stitch for some added detail. Once you've sewn the whole hem down, you're all done and you have a super cute and easy to sew basic skater skirt in your wardrobe. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know. And thank you to everybody who has been sharing pictures of your creations that you've been making from my tutorials. It is so exciting to see them. And if you have one you want to share, either email me at comicatcreations@gmail.com or tag me on Instagram or use the hashtag comicatcreations. And if for some reason I don't see something you've shared, just let me know where to find it. Leave me a comment or something, because I am having so much fun seeing your creations and sharing them too. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see y'all in a video soon. Bye guys. And also don't forget to subscribe. There's something crawling on my leg. Oh my gosh. Oh, I feel the pollen starting up. Whew. But at least spring is here. I really hope y'all I just need one good take. Is that too much to ask? That was not very good.